Thank you so much, everybody. It's a pleasure to talk to all my fellow renewers. And we have some really, really exciting news that I wanted to share with all of you today. It's actually very important news for us as a company. That is a very big step forward for us. And it is important for all of you to understand. So I'll take you through what the news is and tell you what it means for all of us and what it means for our future and what the implications are for our business and for each and every one of you. And it's really good to see that there are almost 636, 637, and the number is going up. It's 640 now of you, which is almost half the company. So that's terrific. It's always great to connect. And one of the funny implications of COVID, of course, has been that we've been able to start connecting with each other much more easily through Zoom and so on. And so that's actually one of the unintended positive impacts of COVID. So, with having said that, let me go straight into what is the news. What is it that we want to talk about? So, first of all, just yeah. So, Aditi, just pause there. First of all, how many of you are aware of Nasdaq? So, Nasdaq essentially, I'll tell you what the answer is. Nasdaq. So, in the US, in New York, there are two stock exchanges. One is the stock exchange called the New York Stock Exchange, and the other is the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. Now, all the major companies of the world, like Apple, Google, Facebook, Tesla, these are all listed on the Nasdaq. And so the Nasdaq is actually one of the biggest, one of the most powerful stock exchanges in the world, which has the most number of investors who come in and invest, and some of the really, really top-notch, well-known companies of the world that are listed on the Nasdaq. So why am I telling you this? I shall tell you why. Just move on. Because the good news is that we have decided to also get listed on the Nasdaq. And so, which is a New York listing. We're going to be listed outside India. Now, why this is such big news is, and you can say, you can decide anything. How does that mean anything? And I'll tell you why it means something. So in the US, there is a new way of listing, which is called listing through a SPAC. SPAC stands for a special purpose acquisition company. And I won't go into a lot of details about it, but you can basically get listed through a SPAC. And what we have decided to do is actually get listed through a SPAC called RMG Acquisition Corporation. And we are merging with that company. That company is already listed on the NASDAQ. And essentially, therefore, we are going to directly get listed onto the NASDAQ as well. Now, just to give you a sense, when the listing actually gets completed, which will take another couple of months to happen, then at that point, the ticker symbol or the company that will be listed there is a company that now is going to be called Renew Global Energy. It is a company that is now domiciled or set up in England, in the UK. That company owns all of our businesses in India, and that company then will get listed on the NASDAQ, and it'll trade under the ticker symbol RNW. Obviously, RNW stands for Renew, and all of this will get done in the next 2 months or so. And as part of this whole transaction, you may well say, oh, it's going to happen 2 months later and so on. But really, the way this whole process works is that you actually go talk to all the investors. You figure out who's going to invest, what is the valuation at which this investment will happen. You do all of that, and then you make the announcement that we're making today. And then after this, from here on, for the next 2 months, is just a process issue. But fundamentally, the deal is done. So what I want to tell all of you is that this deal is now done. We are going to be listed on the NASDAQ through a acquisition, through a merger with this company called RMG. And we will be called Renew Energy Global Limited PLC, which is a UK listed company. And that company will own the entire Renew Power group of companies in India. Now, the important thing to remember here is the following, that we are being valued in this whole transaction at a value of $8 billion. Now, $8 billion is roughly equal to 60,000 crore rupees. So that is the value that is being assigned to us as a company. Now, this includes both equity and debt. So our equity value, which is what is going to be traded on the NASDAQ, will be about $4.5 billion, which is about 32,000 crores. So that is going to be the value at which we will be trading in the market, right off the bat. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is that as part of this whole transaction, we had got investor interest from various people that we'd spoken to, new shareholders, etc., to invest $1.2 billion in buying shares of Renew Power. And what that means is that in the $1.2 billion, we are essentially, which is about 8,750 crores, we are essentially going to be raising for the company close to about 5,000 crores of that capital. The rest of it will go to some of the shareholders, some of our existing shareholders who are selling their shares to some of these new shareholders. But the important thing is that almost 5,000 crores of new money, new equity, new cash will come into Renew Power. And this will allow us to fund significant growth going forward. And all of you know that we have massive expansion plans. Now, why is this so important? Why is this such a big deal? This is such a big deal because it is, in fact, the first major overseas listing of an Indian company via this method of listing in the US. So we are the first company that has done that across anywhere in India. Okay. We are also the first company in India after many, many years that is going to be listed in the US stock markets. So I think that's, in both of those respects, Renew has really blazed a new trail, and this is going to be a path-breaking activity and exercise from that standpoint. The second thing I would say is that this also gives us access to a lot more capital. Of course, we are raising 5,000 crores. And so that will be used to fund all of our pipeline for the next several years. And our view is that, currently we have 5,500 megawatts of commission capacity. We have a pipeline of another 4,500 megawatts that we have won in the various government auctions. All of that 4,500 megawatts we will be able to construct. We already, of course, had cash in the company to do most of it. This will fund whatever we did not have cash for will be funded now. And in addition to that, we are going to be able to fund a lot more growth in the future as well. And our expectation is that by 2025, you know what our target was? Our target was to get to 25 gigawatts by 2025. Now, the reality is with this capital, we are funded entirely for 20 out of that 25. So I don't think that capital will be a limiting factor for us to meet our growth targets after this capital is raised, because what this also does is that this also gives us access, as I said earlier, to one of the biggest markets in the world where there is a lot of interest to invest in Indian companies, and particularly in Indian renewable companies, particularly Renew Power. So if we need to raise more money, we can always go to the market and raise more money. It is not a problem any longer. So what I'm trying to tell you is that now, ladies and gentlemen, for us, capital will not be a constraining factor to whatever growth plans, whatever ambitious plans that we have set for ourselves. Okay, that is point number one. Point number two is that, as we know, the Indian market is growing very, very, very rapidly in renewable energy. The government's plan is to do 450,000 megawatts of renewables by 2030. Today, we're at 90,000 megawatts. We have to add another 350,000 megawatts in the next 10 years. So will the market be a constraint to our growth? The answer is no. The market will not be a constraint to our growth either. So what will be the constraint to our growth? It is not going to be capital. It is not going to be the market opportunity. The only constraint to our growth is going to be our ability to execute projects on the ground. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is entirely within our control, because it depends on the kind of organization that we have, the kind of ways in which we work with ourselves, the kind of systems and processes that we set up, the people that we hire, and how we engage and collaborate with each other. So now what I'm telling you is, we have, with this one transaction, with the capital that we are raising, with the listing that we are doing, we are totally taking away the limitation of growth on account of capital availability. That problem is solved, okay, for now and for the future. Now really we have to focus internally and build this great execution capability that allows us to do 3,000 to 4,000 megawatts of projects every year. So that's really what we have to really focus on. So therefore, with the capital that we have a lot more flexibility to act, not just on building capacity, but any new business initiatives that we think make sense, any new growth plans that we think make sense. And there are many exciting issues that are going on right now. There is the whole issue of batteries and storage that is going to become a very big deal in the future. The second thing is going to be around green hydrogen. That is going to be a very interesting thing that we will look at. There are going to be opportunities around developing more hybrid solutions, combining wind and solar and storage to come up with intelligent solutions for our corporate customers as well as for the utilities. There are going to be a lot of changes in the power markets that are going to happen, which will allow us opportunities, new opportunities in other parts of the power value chain. We're looking at the manufacturing side in both wind and solar to have better control of our back-end manufacturing value chain. So there are lots and lots of things that we are doing. And all of those are things that we really need to focus on and really move forward very rapidly. The other thing I would say is that, to me, the fact that over the last 30 days, 25 to 30 days, the finance team and we spoke to at least 50 to 60 global investors. And I must tell you that the feedback from global investors was very positive. They all liked what they heard. They loved our company, and most of them have agreed to invest in our company. And it's very important for us that we basically develop a good relationship with these investors, because once we promise to them, we deliver to them, then we have access to go back to the market. It'll impact our valuations, and it is very important for us to do that. So I think we've got very good feedback from global investors. It's validated our company's storyline, our vision, and our mission. And I must say that for me personally, it was very gratifying and very nice that we got such a strong feedback from global investors about what we all together have created in this journey so far. And so I think all of us, each and every one of us, needs to be really proud of the effort that we've put in, of the company that we've created. And the biggest strength of our company is ourselves, is our people, is all of us working together. And so I think that is, to me, the biggest learning of this whole activity. And I must lastly say that this is obviously one of the most important landmarks in our company's journey so far. I would say that the other things that I can think of in our journey, which were of similar importance to us, was the very first time that we got funded, the very first money that we raised from Goldman Sachs 10 years ago, was a very important event, because that's obviously what got our company moving forward. Okay. And let me just tell you that just today, in recognition of this, I got a mail from the CEO of Goldman Sachs, the current CEO of Goldman Sachs. And he's, and they've been our partners for the last 10 years. Okay. And this is what he said, and I'll just read it out to you. This is from a gentleman called David Solomon. He's the chairman and CEO of Goldman Sachs. He says, Sumant, I hope this finds you well. I wanted to extend my best wishes and congratulations following the announcement of Renew's merger with RMG2. Well done. As you know, we deeply value our relationship with Renew and are thrilled to have partnered with you in this milestone for your business. Thank you for your trust in our firm. We wish you continued success and remain committed to helping you execute your goals over time. Please don't hesitate to call on me directly if I can support you in any way. Best, David. Now, David Solomon is the CEO and chairman of the biggest investment bank in the world. They've been our partners through this journey. So I'm just saying that, it's a very, very important step. As I said, it's on par with the first time they funded us, and they've been partners in our journey. Another landmark, I would say, which is very important for us, is the commissioning of our very, very, very first wind farm, 25.2 megawatts in Jasdam. And we had a big inauguration at which the Honorable Prime Minister, who was then Chief Minister, had also come and inaugurated our wind farm. So I would say this what we've achieved right now is kind of on par with those very, very significant aspects of our evolution. So I think an important milestone, an important step forward for us. Just go to the next page. Now, what has worked for us so far? And this is a very, very important learning that I thought I'll share with you all. And then I'll talk about the other aspects of how the process went and so on. But it's very important to recognize the things that have got us to this point. So I think the first and most important thing is that, when I started this company and in our first few months and years of our evolution, we Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool. Sorry, for some reason I dropped off.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is that it's a very important thing to recognize the kind of company that we've created right from the beginning, right? And our focus has been very strongly on integrity and having a very strong sense of ethics, not just work ethics, but ethics in general. We focus very much on corporate governance. And it's not easy to do that in the Indian context. It's not easy to do that because a lot of other companies work in a very different way from us. But right from the beginning, we've tried our absolute best to have the highest standards of integrity and corporate governance and ethics. And it's something that we've had to look at and question, and it's raised doubts in our minds. But I must tell you that over time, what it has done is it has created a certain reputation for us. It has created a certain background for us. It has created a certain storyline for us. And I think that is really all of the things that matter when you finally go to global markets, when you talk to investors, and when they do diligence on you and they find out that here is a really clean company that operates in the best possible way. I think all of that helps. And I'm so, so, so glad that all the decisions we took about growing our company in a certain way, all of that is really being rewarded. It is being rewarded ultimately. And I've seen so many other companies that have operated in different ways that did not follow the same kind of path that we did, actually falling by the wayside. I find that is really very, very disturbing. Not disturbing in the sense what they did, but it's really, really positive from our standpoint. And I find that it's really positive in that sense. The second thing is that we've created a company which has an absolutely stellar track record. We've got a company that is really, really got a track record over 10 years where we've actually delivered consistently what we've promised. And in doing that, we have been able to really, I think, give people the view and the sense that here is a company that we want to partner with. Here is a company that delivers what it says that it will deliver. And so I think that's a track record that we really, really need to maintain as we go forward as well. So we are a clean energy company. We're a pure play. If somebody wants to get exposure to renewables only in India only, then we are the way to play that whole sector and that whole space. And the last thing I would say is that we have ambitious growth plans. Yes, of course we do, like any commercial enterprise or entity would have. But we also have honesty of intent. We are very clear about what we want to do. We're very sincere about what we want to do. And I think that is something that reflects in the way we come across with all of our partners and our stakeholders and our vendors. And that's the kind of reputation and track record that we really need to maintain and build on going forward. So I think honesty is very critical. We have to continue maintaining it. And of course, ambition to continue to drive our growth is very important. Now, what does this mean for all of us renewers? So let me talk a little bit about that. Number one, obviously, all of you know that in terms of commission capacity in India, we're the largest company. With our pipeline, we're among the largest companies as well. But more important than that, as I said, we're a company that has the best reputation in the marketplace. You ask people which company in renewables in India comes to mind, I'm 100% sure they'll say Renew Power. And it is because you built the company really, really carefully. And I think as we therefore look forward and as we look at the growth opportunities in the future, I think for those of you who really, really want to, uh, really do well and who have a strong work ethic, there is no better place for you than Renew. And I can say this with sincerity. We want to be a very good employer. We want to create a really good place for each and every one of you to work in. And therefore, this with this new capital, clearly there is going to be a lot more in terms of growth opportunities as we expand our business, as we look at newer areas. There will be a lot of opportunities for growing and learning different things and doing things in different ways. And here, you all have to take the lead as well individually and see how you can learn and how you can contribute and how you can create this organization as we go forward. So I think that is very important. The second thing, and again, please look at our work principles, because while I wrote those work principles about 5-6 years ago, they're still as valid today as they were then, and they will continue to be valid in the future as well. So work ethic, focus on the long term, focus on building the organization, very, very critical. So continue, please, to do that as well. And then obviously you guys work at Renew Power. And Renew Power, as I said earlier, is the best company to work in our sector, and perhaps one of the best companies to work in India. So for each of you, you can be even prouder than you were earlier. And I think your brand equity of each and every one of you will go up. I think all of you can really go with your head held high and tell people that you're working at Renew Power. I think that everybody will now look at you a little bit differently, because we are a company that is not just going places, but actually has gone places already, and hopefully will go even further in the future. Now, let me talk a little bit about the process of, and by the way, just if you just, okay, let me just go forward. So what was the process and how did this whole thing work out? First of all, so let me give you a little bit of behind the scenes feedback on how this whole thing happened. So, we were looking at a capital raising, because obviously we have a big pipeline that we wanted to make sure that that gets fully funded, and that we have the ability of continuing to raise capital for the future as well. So we were looking at various options. And of course, we also knew that eventually we wanted to be a listed company. That was also very much in our minds. So we had been looking at various options, including strategic investors and so on. But fundamentally, we then started looking at um, doing a SPAC really only by the middle of December. And it worked very, very rapidly. Literally within just about 2 months, the whole thing got done. As I said, it was very, very intense. All of us worked tremendously long hours. We had to spend a lot of our time over the last 2 months in doing this. Therefore, some of you may have seen at least that I was not as actively engaged in business issues. But there were 2-3 different aspects to this transaction, because not only were we raising capital, but we were also going to become a listed company. And a public company is very different from what we are right now, which is a private company with shareholders who have a shareholders agreement and so on. And so we also had to think about what we might be as a public company, how the governance would work, what the board of directors would be like, and so on. So all of that also had to be discussed with all of our shareholders and negotiated with the existing shareholders and the new shareholders. So not only was it a question of talking to investors and getting feedback from them and building the book and getting the deal structured, but it was also a question of looking at all of our governance issues and thinking about how those would be managed in the future. So a lot of work therefore had to happen. And I must really, really strongly and with the bottom of my heart thank all of you who were involved in this very, very intense exercise, particularly the whole finance department, corporate finance, the legal team, secretarial, the corporate communications department. All of you worked tirelessly, worked very hard, and worked long, long, long nights. I know that a lot of you didn't get a lot of sleep over the last month and a half or so while this process was going on. And I really thank all of you who have really worked so hard on this. To me, it was one of the most intense exercises that I have been part of. And believe me, I have been part of a few in the past. And it was also very tense. It was tense because The stakes were very high for us. We wanted to make sure that this whole thing goes smoothly, that all the things that we needed to put in place for us to manage ourselves as a public company, all of those were being put in place right now as well. And so therefore, there was a lot of hard work. There was a lot of stress during this period of time. And as I said, I must thank, very, very deeply each and every one of you who was involved in making sure that this happens. And for all the hard work that you all did, thank you very much. Okay, so the last point really says that it's not just the last 2 months. This is really the culmination of the last 10 years of effort and work. So therefore, every one of you who's contributed, thank you so very much for that, because that really is what has made all of this possible. Now, let me just say one word of caution. Number one, until until the deal is not done, it is not done, and it is going to take 2-3 more months. While we've announced the transaction, it is going to take a little bit more time, 2 to 3 months, to get all the paperwork done, all the filings to be done that we have to do, get all the regulatory approvals. We have to file with the US regulator, get their approvals. We have to file with the Competition Commission of India, get their approvals. So there's a little bit of work that still has to be done. But in the meantime, while all this is happening, our stock has already started trading in the NASDAQ. And therefore, you should assume that we are now a listed company. Now, what is very important is to recognize that there are some very significant do's and don'ts. And all of you really need to read these very carefully. We can't be really, doing any trades in our company's stock or in the stock of RMG, which is now trading as if it were Renew. So please be very careful. Read all the do's and don'ts very carefully and follow those, please, because US securities laws are very, very strict. And I don't want to have any of us getting into any issues because of issues around just lack of awareness of the rules and regulations. So I think that is very, very important. So please do stick with that. Okay. And I think various mails are going to be sent out to you. So please read them carefully and follow them very carefully as well. Okay. And for the next 2 to 3 months, please, my suggestion would be don't talk to anybody externally about some of these issues, because you never know what is confidential and what is not. And while I'm, of course, sharing everything with all of you, I think it is better that we keep it limited to a smaller group and not share it too much with the outside world, except beyond what is already publicly known. Okay. Go forward. Now, obviously, I think I'm certainly proud to be a renewer. I hope all of you are as well. Let me do a couple of more things. Number one, what I want to tell all of you is that I know that a lot of you have worked very hard to get us to this point. And as I said, I'm very thankful. I'm very happy. I'm very proud. I'm personally very delighted that we've reached this point. And but I also want to make sure that we as a company acknowledge the effort that all of you have put in over the so many years. And just because somebody is working far away from the HO or at a site or anywhere else, or may not have interaction with the senior people, that does not mean that we don't recognize your efforts. That is not at all the case. And so what I want to say is that as a result of this transaction that is happening, for a lot of you, what we will do is, and we'll announce the exact details separately, is that we'll actually make sure that there is some reward for each and every one of you. And so that is something that we will announce as we work through the details of that. And the reason I'm not announcing it right now is because everything has happened so fast that it's been very hard to get everything done at the right time. But nevertheless, let me say that we will make sure that all of you benefit from this event that is taking place, this milestone that we are all achieving together. So we will certainly make sure that there is something that in some way that everybody benefits from this. So we will make that announcement. And the way we look at it is, depending on how long that you've been working in Renew, And for people who've been working for at least a certain time and longer, we will make some sort of a financial incentive, and we'll put that together in the perhaps in the at the time when this deal closes, which will likely happen in June or July, and then again, spread it out over a little bit of time. So I think that is something that we'll definitely look at doing, and that's a way. It's a small token of our way to say thank you to each and every one of you who have helped contribute and get us to this point. Um, Let me also do the following. I want to call out a couple of folks who've been there in this journey right from day one. And I'd like to hear from them as well. And so to the extent that you guys are there, please be prepared. I'm going to call on 3 or 4 of you and ask you guys to give your thoughts about your journey over the last 10 years. And since I said 10 years, I think most of you would know who you are. So let me first call on Ajit. Ajit, are you there? If you can unmute yourself and if you can put your video on, that will be great. Yes, Ajit. So just talk to us a little bit for half a minute of what your journey has been like, because you will always have the record of being in some ways the first person who joined us from the outside into Renew Power directly.
Yes,
And you
Sumant,
still with us. So tell
thank
us a
you for
little bit about your time with us over the last 10 years. We, of course, are delighted that you've been there with us for so many years, but it'll be great to
yes,
hear your thoughts as well.
thank you, Sumant, for remembering me. So yesterday, actually, I met Vaishali ma'am also. We were discussing this. So what I was thinking was, it's actually we've been through a lot of due diligence. So this due diligence actually the less in terms of technically the contribution was less, because earlier due diligence we used to work a lot actually. So now we have a ready-made deck for due diligence. So, so thank you, Sumant. It's your leadership. Because of that, we are in this level. So we are proud of that. So now we have a very good market name. So Renew is a strong company. So all the companies want to work with us. So thank you, Sumant. So thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ajit. Okay, let me ask Nikunj. Nikunj actually came and joined me when I didn't even have an office and I was working out of a business center. And I remember that he came and I interviewed him. And I was wondering, why would somebody want to join a company that doesn't even have an office at this point in time? And yet Nikunj came over and started working. And he's done a phenomenal job over the so many years. Nikunj, are you there?
Yeah, Suman, right.
Yeah, Nikunj, your thoughts.
So look, I've been called 2-3 times to talk about my 5-year and 10-year awards at Renew, and therefore I've talked about how I started this. I really ended up joining Renew because I was doing a kind of work at Tata Capital and their private equity investment banking division. I figured that this is only one part of the whole thing which I have seen, and it's a big team, and I'm part of a big team which is doing a lot of pitching at back then, and therefore wasn't sure of the success which they will achieve, and then I will achieve, and then what exposure which I'll get. And when I met Suman, just like that, like Suman said, exactly that happened for me. That I just walked in. I thought that there's a lot of meeting of minds, so therefore why not take that plunge? And then I spoke to my brother, who was saying that you have 30 years of career in front of you. This is just one choice. Just take it. And then there was time then, and there's time today. I haven't regretted it one bit, and that's not because we have been successful throughout. We've had our set of issues also, and but we have been able to come out of it very successfully. And what I also wanted to add, Vaishali just asked me to speak about our journey. The most uh, the most enlightening thing which happened in the last 3-4 years. So basically, at any point in time when we raised capital for the company, starting from Goldman to ADB to Adia to Jera, it was always success. And we went out on the market. We spoke to 6-7 guys. There were 2-3 guys interested in us. We optimized a little bit on the valuation, and here we had money. And even after every round, we were sort of skeptical that obviously it was a difficult process, but how do we end up raising? We get lucky all the time. So therefore, maybe something could go wrong at some point. So therefore, we should be very cautious. And I have a tendency to always see the other side as to what could go wrong. And then the inevitable happened when we had to culminate and the most important event, which was the IPO, which was to happen in 2018, and it didn't happen. And it didn't happen. And then after that, there were a series of issues: the AP issue, the Yes Bank failure, and so many other things which were piling on. And here all our worries came through fully. But after that, what I realized was that we had this senior management offside, at which someone said that now we're going to be aggressive back again, and we start winning capacity. And at some point, we were questioning us as to why we are doing this, because we don't have visibility for capital. But we won that capacity in the time when everybody felt there's no visibility of capital, and we got the best of projects. And those projects really helped us raise this capital which we are raising today, because those projects really are the projects which we're going to do, which the investors can see can will get our growth which we wanted to. So therefore, from that low, we were actually able to come out at this point high, which is like the highest which we haven't been thought about in the last 4-5 years. So this is to me a really important victory, because it's really come back from a very low point in time which the entire sector and the markets went through. So yeah, quite happy about that.
Great, thank you, Nikunj. Okay, let me call a couple of other folks. Balram, are you there, Balram?
Yeah, yes.
If you can.
So good morning, everybody. I think.
Is your video on, Balram?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you, but is your video on?
Yeah, yes.
There you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I have no words to express the excitement. It's like a matter of pride for all of us. Whatever we did in 10 years, we were able to take the full advantage of that. Many stories, but these are the moment, right moment to tell all the stories. But one story again, I'll repeat. My first day in office, like I opened the office and the office was over. That's the kind of the place we started. Especially for the new guys who have joined just now, or maybe like 1 or 2 years back. Like our total office size was less than the size of our like the current Suman's cabin. That was the kind of office we started with. But it's really a matter of pride, and like there were many firsts, and I think we celebrated everything. We commissioned the first 25 megawatt. Narendra Modi inaugurated that. We then 100 megawatt, then 500 megawatt, then 1 gigawatt. We celebrated. After that, we stopped celebrating because we were continuously adding that. And the important is everybody has contributed. And being the wind head, I should say that, and it's a matter of pride. With pride, I'm saying that we didn't drop even a single project because of fund non-availability. We never faced this issue that funds were not available. The others were struggling to fund for the equity or debt or something. But I can probably say that whatever we decided, that is a project business decided, and then the team arranged funds for that. And especially I should say thank to all the site team, the field teams who have contributed. It's like, as someone said, that everything happened in the last 2 months, but then the kind of blood and sweat which has gone behind it for the last 10 years, that needs to be appreciated. But then, as you said, someone, that now there are many more responsibilities. We will be under strict scrutiny. Abhito say wind is not blowing. We give all kinds of theories, stories, but I think it will be difficult beyond a point now. And then Sumant didn't give the message, but the message is, okay, enjoy for the next 8 hours and then start work from tomorrow. Because the kind of commitment which we all have made to shareholders to the new setup is tremendous, and everybody has worked day in, day out to add megawatt hours with safety and quality. Thank you, Sumant.
Great, thank you, Balram. Okay, let me call on one person who's been with me right from the beginning. Vaishali, any thoughts from you?
Yeah. I've been with you from the beginning, but as far as Renew is concerned, I decided I should stay out of your way at work to the extent possible. I'm not sure if I was successful, but very proud of what has been achieved. Sumant, I see you very closely, so I can tell everybody and share with everybody that I haven't seen anybody work so determined, in such a determined manner, and so hard and so passionately, at the cost of health, family, and everything else. And all I want to say is that congratulations and a big well done. So that's where the nice wife part stops, right? And then the real renewer part is, in the spirit of renew, that every milestone is the beginning of a journey, is always the beginning of a journey. So, for those of you who have been here for some time, perhaps as Balram rightly pointed out, that it does feel like it's the beginning of a journey and not a culmination of a real milestone. I think we have to learn to do that and really absorb and just cherish what has been accomplished, because really what has been accomplished by any measure is really exemplary, quite incredible. I think every professionals or entrepreneurs or an entrepreneurial team's dream. So all I wanted to say was, well done, team, all of you. I mean, from site to the businesses, to people who've been with us from the beginning, to every newcomer who joins. I don't think any of this is possible without each one of you. All I feel is a great sense of pride. I'm very grateful that I have a very, very small part to play, and really cherish it. So, as they say, the journey has begun, and we really have to make it happen. So yeah, thank you, and well done, everybody, all of you, and my God, especially folks in the finance team, I want to call out, and others. There are many others in the business team and everybody that, but especially some people, the way they have worked over the last few weeks. Well done, and thank you.
Thank you, Vaishali. I think you're underestimating your own role in this whole journey as well. You've again told us or reminded us that this is just the start of the next journey. And so, therefore, you are again setting new targets and horizons for us, which hopefully we are able to move forward on and deliver against. But no, thanks a lot, Vaishali, very much for the partnership and for the many years of tolerating a lot of my stress and issues and so on. So a big thank you from my side personally to you for that. Okay, let us move on. Let's also hear from Kailash. Kailash, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Uh, no, so obviously it's very gratifying to see what all of us have achieved at Renew, and someone to answer your question, which was Nikunj, what sort of attracted me to join you back then was obviously, I'd seen you work very closely at the Birla Group and your
Sorry
leadership
to
style.
sorry to interrupt you, Kailash, but would I be wrong in saying that you actually met Suman before Nikunj did, or no?
Yes, I did meet
Just to
someone
correct
before
that,
Nikunj.
right? So,
Yeah.
just to get the facts right.
Yeah, I did meet Sumant,
Where are
I
you
think
sitting,
in
by the way?
August. I'm in the hotel lobby.
Okay, okay, carry on. No, listen,
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about the journey over the last 10 years.
Yeah, so obviously, Sumant, when we started off working, we hadn't imagined that we'll get here, right? And for everybody's benefit, the first business plan that we had put together had 600 megawatt of capacity in 5 years' time. And, maybe that would have doubled or tripled. And, we all know where we stand today, which is 10 times that capacity. And then, we are obviously targeting another 4 times growth over where we are currently. So obviously, it is staggering. When I first understood the business, I was wondering that, how are we going to finance so much, so capital intensive business? In any other business, typically, the capex is part of your cost, and the balance is, raw material that you buy, and then, you use it for manufacturing. In this business, everything has to come in upfront, right? In capital terms. So it is our raw material in that sense. So it was obviously a very tall order to obviously do so much capacity, funding, and everything else. And I'm surprised, how it has been done and delivered. And obviously, it's the quality of the projects that we got from the business teams, the execution quality, and everything else which went into it, and the blood and sweat that Balram talked about. So obviously, big thank you to all the people on the sites and all. So it was obviously a fantastic journey, and obviously the biggest contributor in this entire journey was obviously Sumant, as we are all aware. He is very ambitious, he's very aggressive, he wants to do 10, 20 things at the same time, and we can't keep up with that. Somehow we manage to scrape through, but luck plays a big role, I would say. But it's obviously hard to be in Sumant's position to do so many things at the same time. So I frankly don't know how he manages, and he's working like, I think, 18 hours a day, and just thinking about Renew all the time. So Sumant, I don't know how you do that, but obviously big congratulations to you for what you've achieved over here. And obviously it's great that I was part of this journey.
Great, thank you, Kailash. Okay, let me open it up to any questions. So if any of you have any questions, please write your questions in the chat box, and then let's take it from there. But thanks a lot, Kailash. Thanks for those nice words.
You deserve it.
Thanks. I think all of us do. Okay, so any questions from anybody?
I just want to say one thing without like being very fluffy about this, but it does take a follower to make a leader. So you might want to think about it, Kailash. Nobody believed in, I think, this idea, as you rightly said, that, nobody ever believed that it could be a business model.
Yeah,
that's something
absolutely.
to think about for everybody on this call, that I think nobody believed that this could really be a business model which could be profitable when we were thinking about it in 2010.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I think I'll say one more thing while you guys are writing your questions. I see one question from Akanksha Mishra. The moment that left you most teary-eyed in this journey. The thing that left me most teary-eyed, actually, literally in tears, was actually in this journey, and it still leaves me in tears, was losing Anil Gagwani in this journey. That was very sad, actually. He was a valued colleague and partner, and I wish he had been here with us to see this. And that was, I think, a really sad moment, at least for me personally. And it was just very sad to lose him like this. Of course, there have been many highs, many positive experiences, but that was one of the sad experiences. Okay, any other questions?
So I have a question, Sumant, and I think many renewers would like to know this. What really drives you? Like that one thing that drives you to do all of this, work 18 hours a day, as Kailash said. What is that thing?
So, Bridge, if I had the answer to that question, honestly speaking, then I may not want to work so hard. I sometimes get driven, I don't know why. Okay. And I sometimes wonder, why am I working so hard? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And I don't have a great answer for the question. It's just that I enjoy it. I feel that it's important to get somewhere. And that's why I push hard. I mean, it's just that to me, there are so many opportunities out there that if we don't capitalize on them, I think we sell ourselves short, or we don't just do enough justification for ourselves or to ourselves. So I think that's one aspect of it. The second aspect is also that, we are doing a very good thing. We are doing a socially useful thing. And therefore, why not do as much of that as we can? So we have a sense of purpose. And I think that sense of purpose is very important to drive each and every one of us.
Bridge, the question should be, this is the second part of the question, why do you work so hard? The first question is, why do you push so hard and work so hard?
Because Balram, the reason I push so hard is because I cannot do everything myself. Ultimately, it's all of you who have to do it. So my job is actually pushing. It's everybody else's job to do. I mean, of course, everybody else's job also to push to some extent, but my job is fundamentally to push. I don't have any other job. My job is to set targets and push.
So I think everybody is very overwhelmed, and I'm not seeing. I'm seeing wishes pouring in than questions. But we have Saurabh Srivastav. Um,
Gunjan has raised his hands also. Gunjan, sorry, her hand. I don't know, Gunjan.
No, and then Sharad Sharma has just asked a question: how do you manage your stress? I don't manage my stress very well, frankly, unfortunately. But I think coming home, spending time with family, trying to watch read books, take your mind off. I think those are the ways in which you have to try to manage. And you know what? One more thing, let me say that we of course could not do Renewers Day this year because of the COVID pandemic, but we will get together later in the year. I think once all of you have got your COVID vaccinations done, which may take another 3-4 months to happen, maybe longer, maybe not. But whenever that happens, we will all get together and we will celebrate wildly. We will celebrate with losing all our inhibitions. We'll have a great time. Okay. So I think that is something that we should all look forward to. So that is something that we'll do hopefully a few months down the road.
So Kaushik has a question. If you look back, one thing to change in this journey, which will help us to do the change management in coming days.
That's too complex a question to answer on this forum. I'll have to first of all think about it. Amit Thal says, what risks do you see in the future? A lot of risks. Obviously, execution risk is there. The fact that we'll have a new set of shareholders who, as Balram said, really don't care about wind blowing or not blowing. They just want to see results delivered. I think those are things that are going to be very important. And therefore, we have to be very careful about what promises we make and what we deliver. And unfortunately, the promises have already been made because as part of this process, over the last 1 or 2 months, as we've been talking to investors, we of course have been talking about what we intend to do, where we intend to take this company, and so on. So in some ways, you can say that the promises have already been made. Now, really, it's up to us to deliver. And I'm of course happy to share with some of you, with the leadership team, what those promises are. But really, that's what we have to now move towards delivering. So that's one big risk. The second risk is that this is India, and therefore there is always risks around regulations and policy and so on. So that's another big area that we have to constantly look at managing. And the third risk in some ways is competition, because competition is also increasing as we go forward. So we just have to, and when I say competition, I'm not concerned about the bigger companies. I'm really concerned about the smaller guys who don't understand the business and who come in and start doing crazy things. Those guys then spoil the market.
This is a question from Chinmay. Is there going to be some option for employees to buy Renew shares at a discount?
So no, unfortunately not. You have to, and there's another question. You can buy Renew shares only overseas because we're not listed in India. Our shares will start trading under the ticker symbol RNW. As I said, once the deal closes a couple of months down the road. But be very careful about buying Renew shares because there will be a lot of blackout periods for management of Renew, at which point in time you will not be allowed to buy shares. So any purchase by any Renew employee or their family members or anybody affiliated with them has to be cleared through the company secretary. Okay, you can't just randomly go and buy Renew shares or even RMGB shares. RMGB is the company that we're merging into. They are now trading as if they are Renew. So you can't even buy those shares. Okay, so please be very careful, as I said earlier. Do not just buy shares of Renew just like that. You have to get internal approval now before you buy any Renew shares.
Okay, so Vikas asks, can we now finally develop projects abroad?
Why do we need to develop projects abroad when the market in India is so large and so vast? So I think let's focus on the Indian market. Let's make sure that we've capitalized fully. I think once we've done that and we feel that there are still opportunities for us to pursue outside, then I think we'll look at that market. But I think for the time being, let's focus on getting it right in India.
Great. So I think the wishes are already pouring in. As I said, everybody is very overwhelmed. Renewers, if you have any questions, you can write to Suman directly or to corporate communications. But before we end this, to amalgamate what Balram and Vishali said, a lot of hard work, blood and sweat has gone into this journey. And as Vishali said, it's starting off another journey, a bigger and a better journey. And on behalf of all the renewers, Sumant, we are very grateful to you. And you are a leader by hard work, by style, by achieving what you believe in. And again, we all have our respects for you. And of course, this milestone also does something for us as we go abroad. We inch closer to our vision, which is to be the best renewable energy company in the world. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sumant, for giving us this milestone and saying all those words. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody.